Let's do this. This is a follow-up to my last video, synth and DAWLESS gear that I'm selling and reasons why. And this is a part 2. I've actually done another one of these videos, gear that I will never sell, at least for the foreseeable future. So if you'd like to see other goated gear, in my opinion, that's another video that you might want to check out as well. Some of these choices, depending on where you're coming from, are going to feel pretty logical to you, but there might be a couple surprises, things that you might not expect. I have a Patreon with tons of exclusive content. You are, of course, invited to join. All of the gear in this video is absolutely awesome, so I've included purchase affiliate links in the description of this video. If you end up using those links, I make a small commission from that sale and no extra charge to you, so it's a great way of supporting what I do. And today's sponsor is DIstroKid. Distribute your music with them. I'm gonna go through a few reasons why I think they are the go-to for independent artists and producers. The Model 1.4, we're just gonna get it out of the way. This is an amazing piece of hardware. It's a mixer. If you've been watching any of my content recently, you know that this has rocked my entire workflow. Everything is sort of centered around this at this point, and I'm obsessed with it. I will never sell this mixer, at least for the foreseeable future. Possibly ever, I think. I paid full price for it a few months ago, and I wholeheartedly believe that it's worth every single penny. And so, some specs. It is 100% fully analog, which is great. It's got this really fun analog drive here as well. So let's hear it on the drums. So there's just a little push there. I hate to say this, but it makes things sound warmer. I hate when people say that, but it's true. There are 2 hardware effect stands that you could route to individual channels. I've been having way too much fun with that. We'll be getting into that a little bit later. It's an amazing production tool for beat making because it coincides so well with your DAW. I'm routed via my audio interface through dsub, so I could route as many tracks as I want onto any of these given channels, right? So you could divvy it up any way that you want, which is just so flexible to work with. So you can't see this right now, but in my DAW, there's 3 tracks within a drum group. Those are all routed to channel 1. And something to explore in the future, I haven't explored this yet, there's actually a dsub out from the mixer as well. So if I wanted to route these channels back into my DAW with, let's say, some hardware effects or whatever else I'm doing through the mixer, it's just that perfect combination of software versus hardware. I can make everything sound really fresh and then just route it right back into the session. And that's a whole other concept for a different video. I will definitely be exploring that, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. If you want to go full DAWLESS, that obviously is an option as well. You could go via RCA into each of these channels, stereo channels. And just the way it's designed, like the filter and effects routing is very clever and useful for transitions. So for example, let's say I'm going to disarm the drums from this filter. And so now only the bass is being filtered. And now everything's being filtered. So maybe you'd want to solo your drums again and then use this as like a way to transition into your next track, maybe channels 3 and 4 perhaps. You see what I'm saying here? You know what I mean? And finally, in terms of durability, this thing is just absolutely built like a brick. I could probably use this thing as a hammer. No, I can't, and I won't. But I could. Another very well-built unit, the Octatrack. You know how it is. For anyone who's familiar or even somewhat familiar with the DAWLESS world, this one's pretty obvious, right? I'm not gonna waste your time with like all of these specs of the Octatrack. It's been out for 12 years now, so there's plenty of content, information out there on that. I've learned pretty quick that it's the type of instrument that you sort of have to pick a way to use it and then just go with that. Because it could do so many different things, it's really easy to be overwhelmed on like how to use it in combination with other instruments. Ironically enough, after just describing my favorite mixer, I'm using the Octatrack as a mixer as well. I mean more specifically as like an effects box / mixer, but I'm trying to figure out a clever way to use it along with the effects stands on the Model 1.4. You could of course use it as a full-on production tool, a sampler, a sequencer. Like I said, it does it all. It's been around for 12 years, which is a crazy amount of time considering that there are no other units still on the market that are anything like the Octatrack. It's its own complete thing. I've been going to more local DAWLESS or like live events recently. What I noticed is that the Octatrack or other Electron gear, but mostly the Octatrack, it's there like 90% of the time in people's setups. Especially given the type of music, like in a techno set, there's like bound to be an Octatrack there. I've seen some really interesting and expansive setups, so like a full-on modular rig, which is being controlled by, you guessed it, the Octatrack. So that kind of speaks for itself. I could see the workflow just kind of driving people nuts like it kind of has for me thus far. I still feel like a complete noob on this instrument, especially relative to some other Octatrack heavy hitters that are on YouTube in the YouTube community. But if you can get past that, this is the type of instrument that can inspire and re-inspire you for years to come. In fact, that's what a lot of hardcore Octatrack users say. They use it for a few months or a year, they bench it for a bit, it comes back out, it's like revived itself. Fairfield Circuitry's Roger That. This is like a noise degradation effects pedal that can instantly turn you into a noise artist. So going back to the Model 1.4, I've really been enjoying using the Roger That as like an effects send onto these tracks. Note that this is a mono effects pedal. I know that there's a bunch of you out there who are not into those. I don't mind as long as you have the correct cabling. So in this case, for both the input and the output, I'm using a mono to dual mono cable, so I could route that effectively into the Model 1.4. So if you're one of those people out there who's not into mono pedals, this is maybe not for you. So let me demonstrate the noise artist thing that I was talking about. We're gonna route this to bass. All right, let's find a sweet spot. Yeah. Take that drive back down. Even just that is really cool. And there's just so many different characters and flavors just by sweeping. This is the tune knob, by the way, that I'm sweeping. Maybe turn up the drive. Oh, there we go. That's a good one. And right? There we go. Okay, so let's try. Also very cool. Also very cool. Yeah. This is why I love this pedal. And there you go, I'm a noise artist. It's got an FM and AM radio quality reducer with some pretty volatile and unpredictable distortion. So that's the essence of this pedal. And so if I was to throw that over a techno beat, for example, it just gives this like insane wall of energy sound under whatever you're routing it to. I find it especially works well on drums. So let's give this a whirl in a bit more of like an ambient, softer context. Just on the bass, 2, 3. It's so sick. Just about hardware effects in general, there's nothing quite like it. VSTs have gotten very close in like a software DAW setting, but this is kind of a completely separate thing. And going back to the greatness of the Model 1.4, let's say you like that sound of Roger That plus, let's say, the bass, you could just route that through D-sub into your DAW back into your session. So this plus a DAW is a really fresh music production tool. And like all of the other units in this video, the Roger That is built like a brick. It looks kind of like a brick. I actually have a few pictures I need to hang up in my apartment. I haven't bought a hammer yet, so I'm just considering using the Roger That as a hammer. I will never get rid of this pedal. I will never get rid of this mixer. I will never get rid of the Octatrack. And now let's talk about the TR-8S. Another classic, right? I find myself using the TR-8S for one specific thing, and that's classic Roland drum sounds. Of course, it has everything you need in a sequencer. There's long since been debate over the TR-8S versus the DigiTact in terms of sequencing capabilities. I find that they're both great. They're both fine for different reasons. And so I'd keep both for different reasons. So just to give you an example here, let's check out a 707 groove that I've programmed into the TR-8S. A little faster. That's the sound. What if I added Roger that? Just for fun. So this groove is tight, tight, tight with the 707. What if I just wanted to switch out this entire kit? 727. Completely different flavor. 606. 626. Whoa. So that's awesome. This is something that you're not able to do on the DigiTact. That being said, I do gravitate more to the DigiTact for like full-on composition with like melodic parts, bass, and drums. Whereas to me, the TR-8S is just like a really good drum machine, especially for classic Roland drum sounds. You of course are able to upload your own one-shots and samples into the 8S, but again, it's not a workflow that I really use. That's more for the DigiTact. But for like meat and potato type grooves, TR-8S. With the most recent update, which I'm going to link a video to right here, they've added note sub-probability and just probability. And much like the Electron sequencer workflow, you could zero in on a specific note and change any of these parameters on that note. So tuning, decay, control, velocity, probability, sub-probability. There's also like a standalone effects send section, so reverb as well as delay. So I could send specific channels to this reverb, and same thing with delay. I can mix in how much delay I want for each of these tracks. They've also added SP-404 vinyl sim, which is like a legendary compressor effects. That's a new addition, so I want to show you what that sounds like over this groove. Moment of truth. So this is without. I'm going to mix it in slowly. Okay. And speaking of the Roland SP world, we're going to save the hottest for last. But before that, let's talk about today's sponsor, DistroKid. Here's a few reasons why you should be using DistroKid as opposed to other music distribution platforms, especially if you're an independent artist or producer. Firstly, they're on the cutting edge of social media and new music promotional tools. They're definitely the pioneers in that sense because their platform depends on people like us, independent artists and producers, to use these tools to promote our own music. The amount of stores or streaming platforms that DistroKid distributes to is insane. And they also keep up to date with smaller or up and coming platforms that you might not even know about or have access to. So a perfect example of this is a platform called KKBox, which DistroKid distributes to. You think that Spotify is my biggest streaming earner, but it's actually not. KKBox is, so thank you DistroKid for keeping track of that. Also, banking info and withdrawal is very easy to set up. DistroKid does not take a cut. They deliver 100% of streaming royalties to you, no extra charge. Independent artists and producers, there is a reason why DistroKid distributes 1/3 of the world's music. The SP-404 Mark II, another unit that I've covered a bunch on this channel, it definitely deserves a spot in this video. One second. Honestly, I'm not sure why I didn't include this in version 1 of this series, I guess we could call it. This unit has been out for about 1.5 years. They've dropped like 5 updates already, so that's pretty impressive. It's very clear that they're trying to diversify the type of audience, the type of musician that's attracted to the Mark II. But now it's got a step sequencer. It also makes for a great end of the chain effects box, as well as an effects send like on the Model 1.4. It makes for a good finger drumming tool. There is a DJ mode where you're able to queue up tracks and transition from one track to the next like a legit DJ. With the latest update 3.0, here's a video, you're now able to time sync via MIDI with an external unit. So That's pretty fresh. You can now trigger samples of different lengths independently within your sequences. So that's like a page out of the Ableton Live book, but in a standalone unit. The long list goes on, and at the end of that list is the price. I think that most people find that everything is just like so expensive these days, but relative to everything else on the market, they made the Mark II so affordable for what it's capable of doing. I'm not sure if this price is subject to change, but currently it's going for $560 US on Perfect Circuit. By the way, if you are interested in purchasing a Mark II, use the affiliate link. At this point, I truly believe that in terms of what you're getting, this is the best priced unit on the market. It just is. If there's a couple of things to complain about, just overall, there's a tiny bit of latency when you hit the pads, and it's pretty easy to get like a double trigger when you hit the pads. I find that they're overly sensitive, so it does work for finger drumming, but there's definitely some better options out there specifically for finger drumming. Quality and build is great as well, just like everything else in this video. And here's an example of me using it as an effects send with, you guessed it, the Model 1.4. This is such a fun and portable setup. I'm actually going to be heading to Super Booth and planning on booking a gig. I'm not bringing the Model 1.4 and like my audio interface. It's just too much to lose. I'll most likely be changing my set around a little bit and building it for the Mark II and the TR6S. So we'll see how that goes. That's my list, guys. Hopefully I turned some of you onto something new, something maybe you didn't know about. I have a Patreon with plenty of exclusive content. Also, patrons get a discount on one-on-one lessons. So check that out. If you're into any of the gear mentioned in this video, it's all top quality, it's all great gear. Affiliate links in the description. Please use those links. Smash, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video very soon. All right, ciao.